Okay, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We are thankful if you are a Patreon patron. We appreciate your support. We are very thankful if you're a YouTube subscriber. That also helps pay the bills, and you're getting the show real time if you do either of those two things. At a minimum, if you have an Amazon Prime account, please link that to your Twitch Prime account. We get paid a couple bucks a month for the privilege. You have to renew that, so please check out the instructions in the show description and it'll tell you how to do that. If you don't have any of those things, which is hard to believe anybody's not an Amazon customer, but if you don't have any of those things, please follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Today's question from SIFTD. I got my dog here. Hey. From Jay Lynn. What are your thoughts about QA testers at Raven Software forming a union? It's the first union at a major U.S. gaming firm. Do you think it changes how Activision Blizzard treats its employees? Kotaku's writers recently formed a union, went on strike, and ended up with more favorable pay and benefits. Is unionization smart for the games industry in general? Well, great question. Kotaku is hit and miss with its writers, but in fairness, most of them are pretty good. And they're pretty skilled. And they're not really fungible. A lot of guys have cycled through Kotaku who aren't there anymore, but they've graduated on to bigger and better things. Stephen Totillo is writing at Axios now, and he's good. They're hard to replace. So when you unionize and you're hard to replace, then the company that employs you will concede to your demands. And so let me give you an example of a bad union idea and a good union idea. If you unionize in Gadsden, Alabama, and I picked that because that was the first union vote for Amazon, and you say, well, Amazon pays minimum $15 an hour everywhere in the United States, and we're making 15 in Gadsden, and we're going to unionize because we want more. Anybody who's watching at home, you guys all have the internet right in front of you, look up the minimum wage in Alabama, $7.25. Now, if the minimum wage in Alabama is $7.25, pretty much that's what McDonald's pays. That's what Burger King pays. And when you're working at an Amazon fulfillment center, you're about 2 weeks of training away from being as good as anybody who works there. So if you strike when you're making 15 an hour because you want 18, Amazon says, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. See you later. And they go to McDonald's and put up a sign, hiring for $15 an hour. And you double your pay. So really dumb to unionize if you are a low-skilled worker and you're making above market wages. And that is Raven Software's QA testers. QA testers are the entry-level job in the games industry. You're looking it up. That's the entry-level job in the games industry. I actually know game producers who started out as QA testers and worked their way up. A friend of mine's son works for Sony in San Diego, and he's like a relatively high guy in marketing, started as a QA tester. QA testers, for real, their training is they're gamers. And all they do is they play through a game and they make sure that the game does what it's supposed to do. So, when you open a door, that the door actually opens and you can walk through it. I mean, that kind of quality. That when you put something on a table, there's actually a table there and the thing stays there. And sometimes you've played games where like the thing will be suspended in air, like there's a phantom table there, or you walk through the wall because there's supposed to be a door there. QA testers are important, but they're not highly skilled and they're very replaceable. So the guys that form a union there, I'm not sure what they're going for. They are for sure hourly workers, not salaried. And when they're hourly, that means they get paid overtime. They get time and a half. And so if they're whining that they're having to work 80-hour weeks and they're being paid for 120, that's just not that bad, or whatever, 100. It's just not that bad. And if they don't want that job, then go work at the Burger King. So a union in LA of QA testers? Maybe. the job market's tight here, and the amount that those people are paid is really not that competitive compared to what they can earn in and out. In Wisconsin, probably pretty competitive. In Alabama, very competitive. So the more competitive it is, think about this. What's being in a union get you? It gives you the ability to strike unless you get what you want. And the risk when you strike is the employer calls your bluff and says you're fired, and they go hire some non-union workers. I don't think it works for an unskilled workforce unless they're striking for safety changes. So the Amazon drivers who were peeing in bottles, that's wrong. They should give you a potty break 20 minutes every couple of hours just to go to the bathroom, and get a snack or whatever. And they have kind of fixed that. But I don't really feel that QA testers are all that oppressed. And the one that really pisses me off is like highly paid people who are in unions, like baseball players who were going to go on strike this year because the average wage is only $3 million, and they weren't making enough and they wanted $4 million. That's crazy. Unions shouldn't exist for that. So QA testers, I suppose they have the potential to be abused, and I totally get that they want to be treated right, and I totally agree that people should band together and air their grievances. And if that banding together means forming a union, maybe they'll get some change. But to be honest, I don't think anybody in management at Activision cares if a quality assurance tester leaves or stays. There was a woman who kind of led the whole charge at Blizzard to oust Bobby Kotick. I forgot her name, but it was something like Jessica Gonzalez or Rodriguez. It was Jessica Gonzalez. She was a QA tester, and she called herself a QA engineer, but she was a QA tester. And I actually saw that she literally worked there 6 years, right out of high school, 18 when she started, and she left when she was 24, and she had gotten one promotion in 6 years. So I'm going to guess she was hired at 15 an hour, and she got promoted to 18 an hour after 6 years. And she led the petition drive to get Bobby Kotick out, and she got 1,000 people to sign it, which is a lot. And essentially it was every $15 an hour employee signed it. And guess what? Bobby still works there. Didn't work. She left, and she made a big announcement on Twitter. She was leaving to change careers and go be a QA engineer at a non-gaming company. So she leveraged her Activision Blizzard experience into doing the same, hourly wage job at an engineering firm, and got good for her, and that's great. Not highly skilled. So I don't think Blizzard missed a beat when she left. I think that's true of all QA testers. You can't function with none of them, but there's no individual QA tester that's that important. I don't think there's that many developers that are that important either. So again, if they organize and walk out and screw up your production schedule and you can't get Call of Duty out on time, Activision will care. And so if they're abusing those employees, absolutely, those guys can get management's attention. But the low-level people, I don't think that most management cares. And that's what I'm saying about Amazon and fulfillment center workers. They're a dime a dozen as far as Amazon's concerned, and especially in Alabama. So the union votes that worked, Manhattan, New York, because $18 in New York is nothing. It's not enough to live. And those people had a right to unionize and to threaten to walk out if they didn't get higher pay, and I think they're getting higher pay. I think that matters. So again, it depends. The cool thing about minimum wage laws, and politics aside, minimum wage tends to be lower in lower cost places. So Alabama, I don't know the numbers today, but you could buy a house for $100,000, like you really can. So if you have two people working at Amazon making $15 an hour, you got $60,000 of income. You can buy a $100,000 house on $60,000 income and be comfortable and be great. Try doing that in LA with two people making $18 an hour. I think the median house in California is $600,000 or $700,000. It's something like that. So two people making $18 an hour making $72,000. The median house is 10 times their salary. You cannot afford a house on that. So here, the cost of living is so high that a union makes sense. There, it doesn't. And I think Wisconsin Houses, I bet average house in Wisconsin is more like 200. It's not crazy. So again, cost of living lower, hard to unionize and strike, and there are plenty of people who would go to work to replace the unionized people. So what do I think? I think it's a great idea if it's for safety. It's a great idea if you truly are being oppressed. Not a great idea if your next alternative is cutting your pay in half and working at Burger King. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor. We are thankful if you are a Patreon patron. We appreciate the patronage. We are thankful if you have linked your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. We get paid for that. We are thankful if you're a YouTube subscriber. And if you're YouTube or Patreon, you're getting this real time. If you aren't paying for Patreon or paying as a YouTube subscriber, you have to wait a week to get the content for free. So it's a week late, and obviously all my opinions change every week. But at least follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. We'll see you next week.